Happy New Year everyone, it's time to start 2026 with a bang on Le Mans Ultimate, where I'm stepping up to the prototype challenge in the LMP2 for the very first time. Now last time out on LMU you saw me finally gain my silver safety rating to escape the chaos of the bronze rookie series, or at least that's what I thought. It turns out this prototype challenge is every bit as chaotic, if not more so. Now as I've only just gained this silver rating, one big disaster here could see me lose it at the very first attempt, and I can't sugarcoat it. Today's race at Sebring is a mess, a complete crash fest, so with that in mind I'm planning on playing it very, very safe. My priority is to avoid contact, protect my safety rating and pick up positions when I can, but I've got to admit it, I wasn't expecting quite this many freebies.
Green flag, green flag.
Here we go then, a giant leap into the unknown, and I am taking no chances at all as the lights go green. There's a massive grid for this one, and you'll see that I'm starting right at the back of it, P34 on a grid of 35. Now I've already breezed past several cars to my left, quite a few drive-through penalties handed out as the lights went green, and at least 2 cars in the barrier at turn 1. So yeah, just like that, I've already picked up 10 positions, P34 up into P24. Orel Kota made a move up the inside into that left-hander. Meanwhile, in front of me to the right, Attila Olas trying to rejoin. He just missed me there and spun out again. And there's another rejoiner to the left. That was Kota. So after passing me, Kota must have made a mistake, run out onto the grass. So that is another position gained. I'm now up into P22. And the yellow flags are still out, so what is awaiting us at this hairpin? It looks like a spinner on the infield. I'm going to come in really cautiously. It hasn't put off Kota from making another move up the inside. And now I'm side by side with Michael Lacassa. We very nearly touch as we exit that turn 7 hairpin. Really tight here. I'm just keeping myself ahead of Lacassa. And I'm holding on to that P22. Now the driver we lost at the hairpin was one of the favourites for this race. Gabriel Burra had started on the front row, so Burra has crashed out of P2 on this first lap. Now I'm chasing down Marcel Kazarowski in P21. Meanwhile, the 2 drivers behind me, Lacassa and Jan Zak, have both got to serve drive-through penalties. So with a bit of luck, the pair of them may disappear down pit lane at the end of this lap, and that'll give me some much-needed breathing room in the rear-view mirror. It's so tricky to stay safe during this opening lap. Lots of drivers braking at different points. The pack concertinaing together at a moment's notice. That was Michael Lacassa taking full advantage of my hesitancy through that corner while the yellow flags are out. Lacassa diving past and clearly not serving his drive-through penalty on this lap. A couple of other drivers did though, and that has put me up into P20. Right, let's go back and check out a replay to see some of what went down on this chaotic opening lap. Keep your eye out for the purple car in the middle of the pack. That is Anthony Bonadot. Now after light contact with the car to his inside, Bonadot moves over into the path of Jack Cutter, and the pair of them crash out at turn 1. Approaching turn 3, and there's another purple Predator. This time it's Zaki Mufti trying to move up the inside of Attila Olas and sending Olas out. Now Olas had started P9 on the grid. At the very next corner we lost P2 on the grid. Gabriel Burra spinning out at the hairpin, and it was actually after a move by David Laub up the inside. Laub himself locking up, and that caused Burra to spin. But really great work from Burra there. He gets himself out of the way and resists the temptation to rejoin quickly and dangerously. And then at the end of the lap I picked up another position when Fabien Bonnet spun out, and that was a hurried rejoin if ever there was one. Saul Lobitos coming back onto the track and sending Bonnet out. So approaching the end of lap 1 then, a gain of 14 positions on this opening lap. P34 up into P20. I'm right on the tail of Michael Lacassa. Now we know Lacassa has got to serve a drive-through penalty, so that will be at least 1 more position gained. So things going really well here, but I can't afford to become complacent. I've got to keep my wits about me here. Into turn 1, yellow flags are out, and a huge wreck to my right. I saw a car flying through the air. Kazarowski also down on pace, coming back onto the track from the right. I just nip up the inside of him into turn 3. And it looks like Jack Cutter got through as well in the rearview mirror. Cutter breathing down my neck. I'm a little bit wide on exit of turn 5. Cutter was even wider. Cutter gone in the rearview mirror. Let's go back and see what happened at the first corner. We're watching Saul Lobitos, and he just loses his bearings, misses the braking point, misses the corner, careers into the barrier, and he's joined by Kehu. Fast forward to turn 5. I run a little bit wide on exit here. Now Jack Cutter follows me in. He runs even wider. All 4 tyres out onto the grass, and Cutter spins out. Halfway through lap 2 then, and I find myself up into P17, so I'm continuing to make great progress during the early stages of this race. I've now passed half the field, and I've got Lacassa in front of me still to serve that drive-through penalty. And given the rate we're losing drivers in this race, the slow and steady approach is certainly paying off. There's another mistake. Lacassa missing the apex into that right-hander. Lacassa out onto the grass, and that puts me up into P16. Now we're going to jump forward to the start of lap 3 because I wouldn't have to wait long to get into the top 15. Into turn 1 then, look to the right of the screen and you will see Nelson Pinto in all sorts of bother. Now Pinto was one of the front runners in this race. He qualified P4 on the grid and he was running in second position when he lost control. So yeah, with less than a quarter of the race run, I've already climbed from P34 up into P15. Now watch for the bumps. Right there, there is a huge bump in the middle of that final corner. That's what sends Pinto into the barrier. Now he's going to rejoin without a rear spoiler here, and we know that only ever ends in disaster. Pinto completely out of shape as he gets onto the start-finish straight. Thankfully, all the cars behind him managing to get past safely, but when we get to the first corner, as soon as Pinto tries to turn in, that car lets go spectacularly. Now later on in the third lap we lost another of the front runners. This is the ferocious battle for P2, currently occupied by David Loud, but he's got Nansu Orinen right behind him. Now Orinen is just going to get a bit too close to Loud, caught out by the slower mid-corner pace of the driver in front. He spins out and Madge Pern joins him. We're returning to the live action just as I'm approaching that incident, so if you look to the left of your screen, there's Orinen on the grass, coming back onto the track, but not before I get past and move up into P14. However, I'm not quite sure for how long I'm going to stay in this 14th position because I've got Attila Olaz breathing down my neck now. We saw Olaz in trouble earlier on in the race. Well, he's fighting his way back through the pack. He's got good pace. He qualified P9 on the grid, and he's going to have a golden opportunity to get past me now because I completely messed that penultimate corner. I just didn't get the car rotated entering the turn, and as a result, Olaz is going to have the easiest overtake this race. So back down into P15 then. I'm not too worried about that. I know Olaz is a lot quicker than me. He qualified P9 on the grid. We saw him get into difficulty early in the race. He's fighting his way back through the field. He's clearly got good pace. If I can only stay with him, it'll improve my performance too, but it doesn't look like that's likely at the moment. Olaz beginning to clear off already as we begin this fourth lap. Meanwhile, in my rear view mirror, Orinen is within 0.6 of a second now. Now Orinen's another driver who is far quicker than I am. He qualified P13 on the grid, so I suspect I'm going to have a battle to hold on to this top 15 spot. Oh, and in front, Olaz has gone. Olaz, no sooner has he got past me, he's thrown it away again, losing the rear out of turn 3, so that gifts me P14 back. Well, he was pushing really hard, wasn't he? He opened up 1 second advantage over me in the space of a couple of corners, but yeah, just pushing a bit too hard there. The rear steps out and he's into the tyre wall. Charging down this back straight then to the turn 7 hairpin. What's the gap to the driver behind now? Well, it's just 0.4 of a second back to Orinen in P15. Thankfully, Orinen is the only driver in my rear view mirror. There is a big gap that's opened up to the drivers behind him. Bonnet in P16, 9 seconds adrift, and then Olaz has rejoined in P17. Meanwhile, in front of me, I saw Jerome Sampieri rejoin just as I was exiting the hairpin. That's Sampieri just ahead, and I'm going to gain another position in the meantime. That was Marcel Slodovic crashing out of P12, and it's going to get even better. Look in front, Jerome Sampieri getting it all wrong into this right-hander. He has careered into the barrier. And now Orinen is attacking. I left just a bit of a gap on the inside. Orinen dived into it. We're side by side, but I do just have the run on Orinen to manage to keep myself in front, but it's getting really tight here now towards the end of lap 4. And I'm beginning to wonder whether this P12 might be cursed. We saw Marcel Slodovic crash out while running 12th, and no sooner did Jerome Sampieri take over in P12, he was gone too. So it is absolutely vital I keep my focus here. I don't want to join that list of stats. I want to hold on to this P12. A driver coming out of pit lane there. We've still got to take a pit stop here. The fuel amount you get at the start of the race isn't enough to see it to the checkered flag. Everyone needs to pit at least once. I mean, we're only at 1/3 race distance, and I would guess that at least half the field have already pitted to get damage repairs as we watch the replay to see the curse of P12. Firstly, Marcel Slodovic losing it. And then a couple of corners later, Jerome Sampieri getting it all wrong on the approach to T13, missing his braking point completely, and there is only one outcome, a collision with the barrier. Now, I missed it during the live action, but at the end of that 4th lap, we lost Marcel Slodovic for a second time. He gets it all wrong coming out of turn 16, and as I disappear down the Ullman Straight, Slodovic disappears into the grass. Right, back to the live action. Start of lap 5. I'm still under pressure from Orinen, just 0.3 of a second behind in the rearview mirror. He's flashing me now, trying to put me off. That momentarily caught my attention, which causes me to run a bit wide into T3. Orinen gets too close, runs into the back of me, and Orinen has crashed out. Oh, that's really unfortunate. I mean, I was slower through that turn 3 than I normally would be. I just entered a little bit too wide. I was distracted by the headlight flash. Orinen then gets a bit too close, carrying the perfect line. Can't get it stopped. We're right on board with Orinen now. Yeah, look how wide I am into the corner. Orinen apexes perfectly, but because of my wider entry, I wasn't carrying the same mid-corner speed. It caught Orinen out, and he has gone. So back to the live action, and I've now got more than 10 seconds of breathing room, and I will gain another position as well. That was KC Earl, who's crashed out of 3rd position, getting turn 10 all wrong. Let's watch it again on replay. Just carrying a bit too much speed into the corner, drifts a touch wide on exit, and the rear spins around. So just 5 laps into this race, incredibly, I find myself on the fringes of the top 10. We'll scrub that. I now find myself inside the top 10 because Florian Leingartner has binned it at the final corner. Now, Leingartner was occupying that 10th position. I suspect he's another victim of those bumps. We'll check out the replay shortly, but for now, let's stick with the live action because the yellow flags are out. Have we lost someone else? We have. That is P2 and P3 in the barrier. Johan Morin and Killian Sitten. David Laub down on pace. I've got past him. Oh, there's a rejoin in front. Gok and Sakurai, well, that spooked me. I had to abort the corner and take to the grass to try and get round Sakurai safely. I've just about managed it and got back on track in P6. Incredible stuff. Well, this lap 6 carnage actually began at the end of lap 5. We're watching David Laub crash out of P2, another victim of those bumps. And that promoted Morin and Sitten up to P2 and P3, and then they both crash out at T1. Sitten chasing Morin into the first corner, gets a bit too close. He's much faster through the corner, runs into the back of Morin, and they both end up in the barrier. And then we saw Sakurai furiously flashing P2 and P3 in front of him, only for him to lose it himself going into T3. Well, this race is going far, far better than I could possibly have imagined. I started P34 on the grid. We're not even at half race distance yet, and I find myself up into 6th place. That is a gain of 28 positions. Now, admittedly, it may be a bit of a false position because I haven't pitted yet, but the vast majority of these places gained have been through crashes. So if I can just get my pit stop right, I think I'm in with an excellent chance of getting a top 10 finish here. I am under pressure from KCL behind. Do you know what? I'm just going to open up a gap on the inside through that final turn to let KCL through. He's clearly quicker than I am, and it makes no sense taking risks to try and defend. Right, we're going to jump forward to lap 8 now, and we can see just how much quicker than me KCL is. In just 2 laps, he has opened up a 4.5 second advantage. Meanwhile, I have another challenge ahead. I'm closing in on a back marker who has actually lost it. So I'm quite relieved there that I wasn't a little bit closer. I could easily have got collected in that mistake, but thankfully I get past unscathed. Now, I am going to have to take my pit stop in the next lap or two, and I might just do it now, just to get it out the way. Then I can get back out on track, race to the line, and see exactly where I am in the grand scheme of things. So yeah, coming in to take my pit stop. It'll only be the quickest of rests, but at the moment I'll be grateful for any breather I can take. It has been a frantic race. Well, after my pit stop, I came back out on track in P14. Now, much like my P6 earlier, this could be a false position. There may well be drivers in front of me who haven't pitted yet, so I still feel confident that I may be able to grab the unlikeliest of top 10 finishes. And it looks like Anthony Bonadart has lost it in the hairpin. Bonadart has gone. There's another car to the right facing the wrong way. That was Gary Dixon. So straight away, P14 has become P12. And now I'm right on the tail of Gabriel Burra. Now we know Burra started on the front row of the grid. He's been in the wars a bit, so I suspect he may be carrying damage here. This makes me a little bit hesitant to try anything too rash, but I do think there's another position up for grabs here. Meanwhile, behind, Bonadart has recovered from that spin a few corners ago. He's within 1 second and chasing me down. But yeah, I've got to concentrate on what's in front of me. Can I get past Gabriel Burra here? Well, there's another slow car to my right. That's a back marker, though. David Laub still trying to get around without a rear spoiler. I'm amazed he's made it this far. And sure enough, Burrow pulls in as well, so I suspect Burrow going into the pits to get some repairs done. That has promoted me up into P11. Only one more place to go, and I can get myself back in the top 10. Let's check out the replay. We're watching Gary Dixon running in P11. He's just going to get it wrong, exiting the turn 7 hairpin, giving it a bit too much gas, and the rear steps out. In the background, you can see Anthony Bonadot in similar difficulties, but from checking out this angle, it looks like Bonadot locked up on the way into the corner, just applying a bit too much brake. He can't make the corner and he spins out. So we've got just 4 minutes left on the clock. Am I going to get this 10th position? Well, as we come past pit lane to end this 9th lap, it doesn't look like I'm going to climb the leaderboard this time around. There are a couple of cars in the pits, but they're all below me anyway. So I've got to look ahead to Gianni Brenner in P10. He's 6 seconds clear at the moment, but the yellow flags are out. And yeah, that is Brenner. Brenner rejoining right in front of me, so his 6-second advantage has been wiped out as I nip up the inside into P10. Meanwhile, there was a crash back marker to the left, and it looks like Anthony Bonadot may have got caught up in that as well, so I've got some breathing room now. Let's go back and check out the replay. Well, once again, it's those bumps in the final turn that caught out Gianni Brenner there. Now, he wasn't the only one to get into trouble at that final turn. We're now watching the back marker, K-Hu. And it was who inadvertently took out Anthony Bonadot, who was the nearest challenger behind me. Now we're watching who lose it here. I suspect he's running with damage too. He was very ginger through that final turn, but still managed to spin out. He's thinking twice about rejoining, but when he does decide to, Bonadot plows into him. One final view. And yeah, not only do I get 10th position, I also get a decent amount of breathing room behind me. So as the sun sets on Sebring, I am going to get the unlikeliest of top 10 finishes. P34 to P10. Now, I know my strategy hasn't been the most entertaining, but you can't deny the result. It has worked a treat in what has been a very dangerous combo. And just as I say that, a back marker losing it spectacularly right in front of me. That was Charles Dripotranto. Well, I'm taking no chances at all getting around Charles there. I gave him as wide a berth as possible just so I could make sure I crossed the line to take the checkered flag in one piece. P10 here at Sebring. Right, let's check out the classified results then. I'm interested to see how my pace matched up against the other drivers in the top 10. Well, my fastest lap in the race was a 1:52.7. Actually, yeah, that's not too bad. There's quite a broad range of lap times in this top 15, and it's hardly surprising given the amount of carnage we saw through this race. Crash after crash after crash. Now, of course, at the start of the race, I said the most important thing for me was protecting my safety rating. I didn't want any part of those crashes, so I drove safely, I drove carefully, and it's pulled off a pretty good result here. A top 10 finish from P34 on the grid. I do hope you've enjoyed watching, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Cheers for now.